Hello, and welcome once again to Off the Shelf. We have a returning author, which is one of our very first. Thank you, and I think you were one of our first authors. And it was a funny book, Cracks in the Foundation.
That's right.
This is not funny. This is The Repeaters. Erica Ferencik, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Why the diabolical change in your personality? Whoa.
I thought you might be too scared to have me on your show.
No.
Never
Not that
too
much
scared.
of a wimp, but
Never too scared.
it is so very different. And in what venue do you call it? It's not reincarnation.
Yeah.
It's not aliens.
Right.
It's not really science fiction.
No, right. That's an excellent question. I think there's a whole trend now to sort of genre mixing.
Oh yeah, boom, boom,
Bum,
boom.
bum, bum. But, not being straight ahead mystery, not being straight ahead literary fiction or whatever. So to that end, I would call this literary fiction with a horror bent. Not really science fiction. When I think of science fiction, I do think of aliens.
Mm-hmm.
I think of, dragons and things. And there is shape shifting in here, I guess technically you could call that.
There's a lot of that going on in wizardry.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it's as if it's taking place in real life and then some strange things start to happen, very strange.
And your geographical references, you're from the area. So
Yeah.
when you talk about Boston,
Yeah.
when you talk about certain streets in certain places, that make it easier?
Well, ultimately, I wanted to set this in Gloucester and Harvard Square. For certain copyright reasons, I wasn't able to actually use the name of said university.
Ah.
So I had to make up.
Now, when do you find something like that out as a writer? Because
How did I find
would a
that?
new, someone sitting down to write a book, and I've done some books recently where Mr. Menino is mentioned constantly.
Really?
And
Oh, you
I
gotta be
asked, I
careful.
said, can you? And
Yeah.
no, they
Yeah. Yeah.
didn't bat their eyelash.
Well, I guess I started to feel eerie about it when and I have an attorney friend, and she said, "Oh God, no."
Really?
And then I got in touch with Harvard University, and they said no. And I said, "Well, I only reference it a few times, and it's not conveyed in a negative light. It's really not the part of this story that it's not conveyed negatively.
More geographical.
They didn't care. They're like, no,
But
no.
that's interesting.
Don't say the H word. No, 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 no."
Do you have
So-
to check out many facts like that? Because I thought living in the area, you do know it better, and there's more, so you can
Right,
geographic,
right.
and Gloucester as well.
Well, you'll notice that areas that I reference in Gloucester, those are fake restaurants, real streets. You can't, I believe, be sued by naming a street.
You'll
Please,
find out.
I guess. Oh, well, it's over. So hopefully that's okay. But I think naming an institution, naming, a person, that's why you'll read in the fiction, in the first copyright page, you'll read, all these names are, these characters are fictitious. There's no relationship to real people.
And there was no Marty the dog. What a wonderful
No,
dog.
you like Marty. Yeah, the seeing eye dog. Yeah, yeah, sad.
Yes, but very realistic
Oh, good.
and very
I meant
honest.
that to
The people, the relationships. The only thing that confused me was, and I don't want to give away the ending,
Right, that's right.
they couldn't pass on if they were loved and loved in return.
Repeaters.
Yeah.
Repeaters, well, let me first say, repeaters refers to people who come back to life. Astra Nathanson, who is the protagonist, she's the evil repeater in the book, as you'll remember. She's doomed to an endless series of reincarnations because she has not learned to love another human being. And now the difference being, I think you said loved and to love are two different things.
Right.
And there's a whole story behind how I came up with this concept of this evil protagonist.
So
female.
once they learn how to love, then they would live what you and I would consider a normal life?
They live a normal life. They would die and not come back, not be
They never come back.
reincarnated. Yeah.
Okay, so that confused me about Kim, the blind girl,
The
because
blind
she
girl.
loved.
Right, but she was killed violently. If you're killed violently, you do come back.
Oh, so that's an
That's the
option
other-
even if
right,
you're loved.
Right, yep.
Okay, that's what confused me. Thank
sorry.
you very much.
Okay.
We took care of that.
Glad we cleared that up.
Do you know someone who's blind? Do you know someone who led a blind life?
My
Because you
father
did?
was blind. My
Okay.
father lost his sight, and so there's a blind character in here called Carmela, and so I guess it was rather easy for me to remember how I had to deal with my dad, how I had to help him walk around. We did some. I used to work at Mass Association for the Blind, helping people travel train. So I do have experience with that population.
Well, they came through very realistically. They had a very real personality, a very warm, over and above, which they didn't even consider a handicap. Not really.
Right.
You know,
Right.
person.
Well, it's true. Technology these days. I have a blind friend. He has a fabulous job in IT. He can fix a computer. He's on Twitter all the time. He's smarter than I am.
I want to play
he's
baseball with the
amazing.
beeping ball.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I can't hit the ball that doesn't beep.
I'll get you one.
No.
Christmas is coming.
Thank you so
Get you a
much.
beeping
How
ball.
long from start to finish? Because unless I'm mistaken, you were working on this one when you were here with Cracks in the
God,
Foundation?
this thing is about a 7-year project. What's interesting is I wrote this before Cracks in the Foundation.
Oh.
I know. And I put it away, and I was like, I wanted to get Cracks out.
Well, you're so humorous, and you're so funny, and you got such
Yeah.
a sparkling personality.
Thank you.
Where did it come from?
Well, you want to hear the story?
Okay.
Okay. I had a very abusive mother.
I'm sorry.
Yes. And I'm good now. But the point is this, anyway, she used to call me all the time, call me every day. And this was before caller ID. So the phone used to ring, I'd like just helplessly pick it up, and all this stuff. She would call me and kind of harass me every day. Long story. So at least, she never copped on to the internet, which is great. So she died on a Saturday, and on a Sunday, I was in the shower, taking a shower, and the phone rang. And I just froze, and shampoo in my hair, and my heart sped up, and my breathing became rapid, and I was like, oh my God, it has to be my mother. And it just didn't make sense that she was dead, because have you ever known someone with such a strong personality that you just can't imagine them dead? So I got out of the shower, threw a towel on, I ran down to the phone, and then the outgoing message played, and then I just listened to this person breathing on the message machine, and it sounded like my mother in her last days, this very heavy breathing, and then the caller hung up.
Ooh.
And then I was like, oh my God, I just had to remind myself that I'd signed her death certificate the day before, and that, and it was such a powerful experience that I thought, wow, if my mother can come back from the dead, why not a race of people? And so what would they be called? And so I just thought repeaters, and it just seemed like the perfect word.
Right, because it's not ghostly.
Right.
It's not witchy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Just come back.
repeaters.
And I thought, what would be the reason that they would come back? And if you were killed violently, or if you never learned to love another human being, which seems to me the most important thing to learn how to do in this life, So I thought, so then the story evolved from there, and I've always been fascinated with intelligent horror movies, like David Cronenberg, who did The Brood, Dead Ringers, among other things, and what he calls body horror, which is the physical manifestation of the psychological, like stigmata.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to bring that into it. So every time you're killed, you have a scar that when you're reborn, you have it as someone else. I did a lot of research on reincarnation.
Did it help you cathartically
Oh,
get
God.
rid of your demons?
Yeah. Well, for me, I had 10 years of therapy, around my mother, and and in a sense I came back to life because because psychologically, emotionally, I it was very difficult. And so, did I answer your question?
Yeah. Yes. And you led us into a little corner of your life.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Because there's other people. And I can remember in all the psychological situations I've ever viewed, been in, or watched, they tell you to write it down.
Yes,
Don't
I
mail it.
question.
Don't give it to
Right,
anybody.
right.
You don't have to publish it.
I publish it.
Write it down.
Totally write it down.
And it works, doesn't
I
it?
talked to someone. It works. I mean, for me, writing this book was my exorcism. But this is pure, unadulterated entertainment. I just want to make that clear. I didn't write this.
No, you
know what
didn't
I'm
mention
saying?
your mother once.
I mean, because I thought, as a writer, I thought, okay, there's so many ways I can write this. I can write a memoir. But I thought, I'm not famous enough. And I thought, but I'm a fiction writer. So I wanted to take the concept over the top. I wanted to create, with my fascination with horror movies, I wanted to create the quintessential evil female character. I don't think there is one out there.
Well, it's definitely in this
There's
book.
definitely
When you said heavy breathing, I thought of Astra on her deathbed.
right. Yes, yes.
But what a gift from your mom that she was the impetus
Yeah,
for you finding your own healing.
yeah. I mean, I guess it is sort of a backwards blessing in a way that, and I understand my mother. I understand her, but I do think it's rare that people get even one. Well, two good parents is rare. I think having one good parent is fabulous. By good, I mean healthy, loving.
I find that most of us kids don't get to know their parents as people.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Because Mummy is Mummy.
Oh my God, yes.
But Veronica Andrews is someone else.
As we were talking about earlier.
I knew both of my parents as people. I didn't have the warm, fuzzy, huggy, supportive relationship.
Yeah.
But I find that I'm better off than a lot of my friends.
I remember the moment that I figured out my father was a person instead of just my daddy. And I was
some
like,
people never get there.
oh my God, you're a
human being.
A human being. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say how old I was that I really was like, maybe I was in my 20s, but he was getting.
Some people don't get there long after that.
Don't even ever get it.
Usually, the hardest one is when the parent becomes dependent, and they have to switch roles.
I know. That's
And
another one.
Oh, that is so hard for the parent.
Yeah.
And
When
it
my
is
dad lost his vision, I had
so
to go.
hard for the child to take over the parental position,
Right.
make the decisions,
Right.
give the directions.
Right.
It's as hard for the kid to do it
Right.
as it is
The
for
parent
the
to
parent.
relinquish.
Let it get done.
It took I mean, my dad had lost his vision, and his wife had Alzheimer's. So I would go every weekend and find shoes in the freezer, and my dad would be thawing them for dinner because he couldn't see. I'm like, Dad, that's a shoe, And so it took them a really long time to realize they needed help during the week, not just having me there on weekends. And
But even that's part of giving up your
oh yeah,
independence.
and my dad, very proud, very good. I did have one wonderful, wonderful parent.
Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
for you. What's your next book going to be?
Oh, God.
A cross between the two? Are you working on one now?
Oh my God, I have so many ideas. I'm working on a sequel to Cracks in the Foundation.
Oh, funny. Good.
She's like, thank God, called Fresh Ginger.
Mm-hmm.
And but I also have some other ideas for sort of spooky books, and but nothing's really.
So 3 books down the road, you're going to bring me Cracks in the Foundation, and Astra's going to jump up from the cellar floor?
I mean, doing this, I did what you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to switch genres. You're supposed to say, you're supposed to stay in one genre. And,
Yeah,
I never do things the easy way. I always take the hard.
But that's refreshing, and that's your personality.
Yeah. I think you need that. I mean, people say, how can you do this? You're a comedian, da, da, da. Well, I think it's the dark with the light. I mean, if you look at so many stand-up comedians or humorous background, I mean, it's very dark. I mean, very,
But if you don't know how to laugh from the very tips of your toes,
That's right.
then you don't know how to cry.
Right. Exactly.
If you haven't experienced absolute, positive, gut-wrenching sorrow,
Right.
then you haven't laughed
Right.
until your heart hurts.
That's right. That's right.
So,
And that's what's, But I hope that, reading this, did it keep you up at night a little bit?
no.
No? You're a good sleeper?
No, I read quickly.
You do? How fast did you read it?
One day.
How do you even do that? I can't even, I physically can't read that fast. That's a stunner.
I am now finding it enjoyable to read a historical book, which is I love it,
You do love that stuff, yeah.
casually.
In 2 days.
No. Taking notes, digesting it, and it's amazing to me how many fiction stories and books that I have read. The genesis is in the history that I like to read.
Oh, is that interesting? Yeah.
The different communities, the names.
What, can you give me an example of like when that piece of fiction?
We did Deliverance last week, which was a story about deliverance from evil, about the Salem witches, written by a lady from London. Okay.
Oh, how wonderful.
And a lot of the characters in the book were characters that are very prominent in my community's history.
Right, right.
So yesterday I'm reading about Freiburg, Maine,
Yes.
and the same names
Come up.
from my history in Woburn, Massachusetts are prominent in Freiburg, Maine. In the 1700s.
Oh my
That's a
God.
long
That's
walk.
Spooky. That's a long walk. It is.
But-
Freiburg, Maine's up there. Yeah.
Right, but I find that fascinating that the same names appear.
Right.
And it was so hard to travel then.
Yep. Took days and days
But
to
they
go.
got
5
around
miles.
similar to us. The best one I ever read was in 1901. My husband brought it home to me. And it was Louise May Alcott, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, all those people as teenagers,
Oh my God.
growing up in Concord and Lexington, and
What a great
what
idea.
they did for entertainment. And no television, no
Right.
internet, no
A
BlackBerry,
lot of
no
singing.
You and
lot of
I would throw a
singing.
party,
Yeah.
and we would do a theme.
Oh.
And we would be expected to bring a piece, a poem, a story, a vignette.
That sounds fun.
And those assembled would applaud as to who did the best job. So it was
A bit of a
one-upsmanship
competition.
between them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, whoever thinks of them being teenagers.
That were doing something. That's kind of sophisticated.
Yeah.
I think there's a book coming out about a fictionalized, I guess, interpretation of a young Abe Lincoln. Sorry, I don't remember the title. Maybe it's Abe Lincoln, but I was like, oh, a lot of that reimagining is going on.
This wasn't
fascinating.
reimagined. This guy was one of them playing.
Oh, really?
The book was so old that as I turned the pages, these
It was
little
falling
pieces.
off. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
swear it was the best book I ever read.
Oh, wow.
I read it slow.
She took
And
Day
I
and a half?
thoroughly enjoyed it. How are you finding this one is being received?
Oh, beautifully. I had a wonderful launch at Wellesley Books. I had standing room only people. A lot of sold over 50 books. And I gave a talk again about the genesis of the book, which I think is interesting, and how writers write, how they use the material, which is their life, their emotional life, to create fiction and the different avenues that they can go on. Like I said
Isn't that
earlier.
what we always hear? If you
Yeah.
want to be a writer, write about what you know.
But you can take what you know and you can
Elaborate.
spin it.
I'm glad this wasn't your life. Oh, I don't think you laugh quite as much.
No, but I mean, metaphorically, there's some sense in there. The fact that the daughter was killed and came back to life to seek revenge on her own murder. I didn't seek revenge on my murder. I did in a way, but then I learned the best revenge was not only becoming myself, but not becoming what had created me. Survive.
Take what was worth saving.
Right.
Ditch the rest.
Right, and I think that's what so many of us have to learn with some toxic parenting background, to not become something monstrous.
Or-
if
or
that
a-
is what has raised us.
Or a carbon copy.
That's right. Exactly.
Oh,
And then
okay.
pass it on. I mean, there's a lot you could look at this as a story of child abuse and the passing along of child abuse and how it goes down through generation. You beat me? Okay, I'm going to beat my kid. Oh, my kid's going to beat that kid, and so on and forever.
How do I react in a situation
Yeah.
like this? Just like my mother and father reacted.
Yeah. Well, and so I refuse to do that. I mean, I'm going to be a good person.
Now,
So,
from the publishing marketing end, do you know whether it's bought more in stores, online, through your web pages and Facebooks and all that kind of? You get everything, right? You got the Twitter and the,
yeah, I'm a social networking,
and I'm a
whatever.
flunky.
I know, you need a lesson. But it's only been out a week.
Okay.
So,
So I was one of the first.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's
what a
right.
pleasant surprise to find it in my mailbox. Thank
That's
you for
right. You're
keeping
very,
your word.
very welcome.
Thank you.
So it's only been out a week, but it's going to be, if it's not in your store, your brick and mortar, just have them order it because it's taking a while. But usually, I mean, Amazon,
Does it go
can't get away.
Kindle?
It's going to be an ebook in about a week. It will be available. As you notice that it's not yet an ebook. I know, but
No, I had
I'm
no
working
idea
on
even
that.
the process. What
Yeah.
about books on tape? Do you ever do a book on tape?
I don't think that's going to be. I don't think I'm going to do that. Oh, you know what? Who I hope will do it. They did Cracks in the Foundation was a Mass Association for the Blind, has a books on tape program. So I'm going to submit it to them. It's up to their discretion as to whether or not there is a blind character though. Maybe that will help. Maybe that will help.
And just because the people are blind, they have minds just like us. They would be
Right.
as stimulated
And
by
they need,
the story.
and you would think they would, need more stimulation. My dad was like books on tape, and when he lost his sight, that was saved him.
My mom was losing her sight, and she would get the books on tape and would be at the beach, and they'd be playing, and you run so fast and you're so busy,
Right.
and you'd sit down and you'd start listening, and my husband and I, a place would be quiet, and we'd
You'd listen on the beach?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then when she
A great
realized
idea.
we were listening, she shut it off. She didn't want to share
Because
it.
she was in her own world.
Yes,
and
and
she
we,
was like,
we were
"Oh,
invading her space.
How interesting.
There are so many stories, and I don't know the final ending to because she shut the button off.
She's like, get out of here. I kind of feel like that sometimes watching a movie. I just want all those people to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't want to think
My kids
about
only
them.
call in the last 5 minutes of every murder mystery
Oh my
on
God,
television.
of your life, yeah.
Thank God they
Pause.
keep on. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't even go there.
Yeah. Really?
I can't turn the damn thing on.
Oh, yeah.
No,
yeah.
I'm technological.
Technically,
with
you're
it.
challenged.
I am,
You're challenged.
Oh, no, I'm not even challenged. I don't want to. I don't have any more brain cells to train.
Well, you do,
And it
but you want
changes.
you want to put your brain cells where you're interested in. And you want
I
to
can
apply
get
them.
it there without technology.
Right.
And thank God they've taught me enough that I can remember one daughter, she's going around the world. We hadn't heard from her in 3 days, so we went to the net.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get on the email, and I remember somebody saying, Mommy, I might be using your account, so you have to use my account. Don't
Right.
freak out. So I did.
Yeah.
She was in Turkey in the Purple Ostrich coffee shop on my account for whatever reason.
So that's how you tracked her down?
Mm-hmm.
So you knew that she was okay?
And she was online, and she said, Mommy, I just jumped out of an airplane. And I said, oh, good. And she said, Mommy, it was
I hope you're not
wonderful. I
being
could
literal.
see everything.
You mean she jumped out of an
yeah,
airplane?
Yeah, and I said, you
Okay.
could see the same thing from a window. And she said, Mommy, it's not the same. I said, wait a minute, you mean to tell me you sat at my kitchen table 3 months ago and checked off that you wanted to jump out of an airplane with a parachute when you went over this Africa or wherever you were? And she said, yes. And I didn't know that. And she says, Mommy, I don't tell you everything.
Well, you're an adventurer. I mean, But so she jumped out of an airplane in Turkey?
Yep, somebody was holding on to her. It was one of those, jump
A company jumps?
first time in your life. And,
Okay.
yeah. Very, very adventurous. Very, very.
See, I don't need that. I'm good. I got my scary mind.
So, what do you eventually want for yourself? How many books do you want to have under your belt?
I never want to. I never want to stop writing. But I think, like a lot of writers, you have this fear that once you've sort of, given birth to something
And it is like
momentous.
birth, isn't it? Like
It is.
being pregnant for 10 months
I
and
had,
waiting for the kid
7
to be-
years. I mean, from idea to this book right here. There's a certain terror that I'll never produce something.
But you will.
But I will.
I
have
believe in you, and a half an hour is over.
Oh no!
Oh, yes.
This happened last time. We just start getting going.
Start giggling. We can talk after
we
they
can
shut
go.
off
Yeah.
the camera.
Yeah.
Will you come back with the next one?
I promise
And
I will.
I find it in my mailbox?
And you will. Thank you
Good
so
luck
much.
with this
Thank
one.
you so much.
It's very interesting
Thank you.
and stimulating.
Good.
Much than you have thought.
Good.
You don't live in your own backyard, peek
Right.
over the fence and see how other people live.
That's right.
That's it for Off the Shelf. Our guest and the book repeaters. She's a repeater too. See you next time. Bye.